Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. George Orwell said, "There are some ideas so absurd that only an intellectual could believe them." College professors have come up with the idea that there is a social cost to using fossil fuels. They believe there's a high price to using the fuels which billions of people depend on for their day-to-day survival. If fossil fuels were cut off, civilization would collapse in a matter of days, and billions of people would be dead in a matter of months. But for some reason, these college professors seem to have missed that in their cost-benefit analysis. Not surprisingly, more than 90% of college professors in the United States are Democrats. Among anthropology and communications professors, essentially 100% of them are Democrats. These people are convinced that they need to proselytize their politically motivated ideas onto the rest of the world. They say there's something going on called climate change, which is inherently racist. According to their belief system, climate change is caused by burning fossil fuels, and it will disproportionately affect black communities. But not surprisingly, this is a belief which is held almost exclusively by white people. According to Scientific American, climate anxiety is an overwhelmingly white phenomenon. The vast majority of people suffering this delusion are white, but these white Democrats are trying to project their neuroses onto people with darker skin. That apparently makes them feel better about their own mental illness. According to Oxford University, natural gas is a clean fuel for cooking. Electricity from burning fossil fuels is also considered to be a clean fuel for cooking. Essentially 100% of people in Europe and North America have clean fuels available to cook with. But in much of Africa, like the Central African Republic, less than 1% of people have clean fuels available for cooking. This lack of fossil fuels comes at a very high price for these people. About 4 million premature deaths occur each year because people in third world countries are forced to cook with biomass fuels. When people burn dung cakes, over 25% of the arsenic and fumes could be absorbed by the respiratory tract, and this leads to lung cancer and other diseases. But this isn't a problem for white climate change warriors. The vast majority of these neurotic white people who worry about climate change live in fossil fuel-powered, climate-controlled circumstances. Fossil fuels keep the climate inside of their house comfortable 365 days a year. But their neuroses about fossil fuels are preventing black people in Africa from getting the clean fuels which they need. The Washington Post says the world will end in 8 years because we use fossil fuels. The New York Times says the use of fossil fuels is a looming catastrophe and we need to panic. Meanwhile, life expectancy around the world continues to increase year after year to record highs. Malnutrition around the world continues to decrease year after year to record lows. Death rates from all types of natural disasters around the world are down 95% over the past century. There isn't one shred of evidence to support the idea that we're having a climate crisis. And yet white Democrats are driving themselves insane over this imaginary problem. They believe the misinformation because it's coming from academia, it's coming from NPR, it's coming from the New York Times, and it's coming from the Washington Post. Which leads us back to Orwell's statement, there are some ideas so absurd that only an intellectual could believe them. In 1841, Charles Mackay wrote the book Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. He said, "Men, it has been well said, think in herds. It will be seen that they go mad in herds, while they only recover their senses slowly and one by one." He was one of the first people to identify this syndrome, which is now known as mass formation psychosis. Another name for this phenomenon is the Darwin principle. That describes when people embrace ideas which will lead to their own destruction. Toto wonders what has caused 50% of the population to become so completely ridiculous. You can visit him, Kyrie, and Caesar on the web at realclimatescience.com.